Howdy bitches, it is Kitty Cat DeMille here with Jo Boobs Weldon. It is BurlesqueCon 2014 and she was very lovely to sit down with us and give a little chit chat. Now you are on the board of directors, correct? Yes. And that there must be a ton of infrastructure all year long that goes into it.
Yeah, I mean, Indigo is really the driving force of the person who does a lot of the organization. I was one of the co-founders.
Okay.
So
excellent, excellent. And you're also the founder of the
New York School of Burlesque. It started because I had a website where I was putting out information about burlesque and also things that entrepreneurial strip joint strippers were doing. But it was 12 or 15 years ago. I guess I should look that up at some point. And the burlesque movement was still really small.
Yeah.
So I was just putting it up there where people could see it. You know, there was no Flickr, there was no YouTube, there was no Facebook, no Twitter, no, you know. So I was uploading things as much as possible so people could see what it was like in the hopes of attracting people to it. So I also listed a lot of books that I had read about burlesque and sex work, and so and I listed a lot of news articles whenever it came up because at the time there were few enough that I could keep them all on one web page. So people were thinking I was an expert, so they started asking me to teach.
Yeah.
So I started teaching about 10 years ago. This is the 10th anniversary of the New York School of Burlesque, which was originally the Bowery School of Burlesque.
Okay. And when did it change names?
It wasn't as official as all that. So a lot of the times, like the kind of question that you're asking makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
But everything was sort of organic, and it wasn't like, you know, I had a legal entity and then I had to legally change the name. But we did have T-shirts on Cafe Press that said Bowery School of Burlesque and Genius Stripper. And so yeah, and it just, we were in the Bowery Poetry Club. Before that, we were in Waikiki Wally's, which was part of Lucky Chains, which is a drag club.
Okay.
And before that, we were in the Slipper Room, which is where we ended up going back.
Okay.
So at the Slipper Room, we had our own studio until they had to tear down the Slipper Room and they rebuilt it. And the new structure didn't have the available space for a studio. So we operate out of a nonprofit theater studio.
Okay.
That's in Manhattan, New York.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Yeah, it's kind of awesome.
Yeah.
So it started organically. People started asking me to teach, and the more that people asked me to teach, the more I started to think, a school isn't a person, it's an association of teachers. So I started to invite people whose expertise I knew matched the questions people were asking. And I had a lot of teachers who were like, one, burlesque can't be taught, and two, I don't feel like, you know, there were authority questions because we're very punk rock, so we don't want to be gatekeepers, we want to be enablers.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, people ask you questions, you know the answer, like how do you make pasties? You know, how do you get them to twirl? We know these answers. A lot of the people in New York had technique in addition to, burlesque in New York grew out of the nightlife. So there were people with theater and dance schools, but it was ultimately a nightlife thing. It was performing for drunks in bars. So,
which is, in my opinion, a lot of what burlesque is still to this day.
Yeah,
some of it is.
It totally is.
Yeah,
it totally is. Oh, but I think there's more seating now.
Yeah.
Like there really wasn't seating. Like, you know, you stood around at a bar and danced a show.
We're lucky.
And then I taught a class on choosing music, which has changed since I first started doing burlesque. Like how to choose music 10 years ago in burlesque was a different proposition.
How's it changed?
10, 15 years ago, we were still introducing most burlesque audiences to what retro burlesque looked like and evoked in us. Like we never just did classic burlesque because our audiences wouldn't have been sitting still for those 20 minutes taking off on bluff. But so they hadn't heard Night Train, they hadn't heard my Harlem Nocturne. And you know, maybe they'd only heard it once or twice in their lives, whereas now, you know, a sophisticated burlesque audience has heard it over and over. Like it's a staple, it's a standard. At that time, it was very exotic. So I would talk about how to work with that music and how to evoke the same sense of one song performance with modern music. I've been dancing to rock and roll and doing striptease to rock and roll and punk rock for 30 years.
Yeah.
So it isn't really about that. It's about like evoking burlesque and that the satisfaction of the performance and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because I've been taking off my clothes to music forever.
Forever.
Yeah. But that isn't always satisfying to a modern burlesque audience. You have to structure it.
Right, and you kind of have to also know your audience. Like, you know, I feel like a sit-down show where you get more of a burlesque audience versus like doing a bar show where you're going to have more muggles walking in off the street. Like, you kind of have to figure out.
Well, I told them, I said, you have to consider your audience. You have to think about, is this an audience that is likely to find this song tiresome, or is an audience that's likely to find it fresh? Whether or not you do, whether or not your burlesque peers think it is fresh, will your audience do?
Right.
Because in burlesque, a lot of times people get caught up in what their peers think about what they're doing, and they forget about their audience.
Right. Yeah.
Or in any art form. Any art form.
Yeah, you're still a performer, and you still gotta satisfy your audience in whatever form that is. So, now another question we've asked a lot of people is in regards to like when you started in the world, because you were a stripper first before you were a burlesque dancer. Is that correct?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I did some performance art before I worked in strip clubs. That was based around getting naked. But yeah, it's fair to say. Yeah.
In terms of that kind of stuff, when you started, did you let your parents know? Was it on the table, or were you just like, this is something I'm doing? Like, did something you hid, or?
Well, I told my mom when I was 14 that I was going to be a stripper.
Okay.
She was not pleased. So I didn't tell her when I was a stripper until after I'd been a stripper for a while, and I decided to go public as an activist. And we had a long talk, you know, and she was disappointed in my my job, but she was excited for me that I had enough passion for something to risk taking, you know, we did a lot of hardcore activist stuff that she was glad that I had something that I cared that much about.
Yeah.
Which was safety for sex workers, anti-censorship, anti-discrimination against women perceived as lower class, that kind of thing, which all ties in together.
Right.
So she was happy for me that I had that, even though she really hated this whole stripping thing. She still does.
Yeah.
She read my book though.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, you read my book, you know the story. You know, she's like, I don't really want to talk about it. I was like, we don't have to. Just don't want to surprise you when you see me on TV.
Yeah.
And then I remember the School of Burlesque was on CBS Sunday morning several years ago. And she said, well, I always figured you would be on TV. And it had a little bit of the sound of like maybe bent over a cop car getting handcuffs put on. But, you know. But
you're like Sunday morning. This is like what grandparents watch. Like,
yeah, but ultimately she's spiritually and emotionally supportive. She just like logistically and morally just doesn't go for it.
Yeah.
But she's got my back.
Nice. Well,
even though she's completely offended by what I do.
So thank you guys for watching. I am Kitty Cat Tamil here with Jo Boobs Weldon at BurlyCon 2014. Thank you so much for watching. Please hit the subscribe button below, like, comment, let us know what you thought of it, and we'll see you next time. Bye!